Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome back. Alright, let's continue on. I'm not going to try to talk so much. I guess I had a visceral thought on that? I don't know, just I have a heavy thought on those things, and I'll try not to say too much. Otherwise it'll be very long.
So, Sadhguru, if I could just follow up on that answer you made. So, as I understand, you said that there are individuals like soldiers who show their allegiance to the nation by fighting for the borders, fighting in the borders. We are not loyal because we don't stand up.
Nobody talked about loyalty, please. No, we need to understand this. Nation is not a God-given entity. It is an agreement among us what a nation is. Yes? Nation is not some God-given thing. It's we who made the nation. There is an agreement what we will respect, what we will not respect, what we value and what we do not value in this country. So this is an agreement that we have made. So this is not a question of your loyalty. Maybe you're doing some great work, but you don't want to stand up. But I'm telling you, this is not about you who is well-to-do. This is about those people who are still not fed properly. This is about those people who are dying on the borders. This is about those people who are being rubbed down to the ground on a daily basis.
So, Sadhguru, I completely understand.
How will sitting help? Please tell me first. No, how does sitting help? If one person stands up and speaks, it'll be nice. If you can stand up for this at least.
So could I complete the logical flow on the question I asked him, and then we'll put it to somebody there? Is that fine? Or like, do you want to ask right now itself?
Please take the microphone and speak, it's fine.
Fine, so I mean, the reasoning which I understood is that there are individuals who are sacrificing for the nation.
No, there is a condition.
There are individuals who subscribe to the idea of a nation, and the implication is that individuals who do not stand up for the national anthem do not subscribe to the idea of the
nation. Not true. I am not saying that. This is a very simplistic logic. I am not saying that. I am saying nation is at a certain status of evolution. Do you understand? In this nation, we need an emotion to move this nation to a better status. For this emotion, everybody needs to participate. It's like saying, tomorrow you want to build a family. You go and tell your wife, see, I'm very agnostic, I will give you what you want, but I will not invest my emotion into this family. You think you will have a family? You think you will have one? So, standing up for the national anthem and a few other symbols of that is just that you are creating an emotion, because nation is only in the minds and hearts of people. It doesn't exist anywhere else. There is no nation in the world. Nation exists only in our minds and our hearts. If it doesn't exist in your heart, how will it exist? It will cease to exist.
So the last time in history we had forced act.
And this, I meant to maybe talk about that last video, but it's the thing is that, which is, I'm sorry, the caption kind of spoiled what it's gonna say, but there is extremes, of course, and I'm not talking about extremes. We have to have a certain level of certain things to make things work. Extremes on one end or another is never a good thing. Extreme Nazism, extreme patriotism, where it ends up splitting, it will still do what you're fighting against, in a sense. So basically, I'm making assumptions here before he says what he's going to say. So extreme Nazism goes way into patriotism and nationalism or whatever isms, and it split, in a sense, it split German country. It united all the Germans, but there are German people out there who were Jewish, and they were not welcome, even though they were Germans. Now, not every German agreed with the Germans at that time. There was, in fact, a few Germans who opposed and tried to get rid of the leader of that time. But it was a story that was never told, amazingly. But anyways, because it failed, actually. But if you go to the other extreme of no nationalism, you have open borders. Basically, another country is going to come in and take over your country, your non-country, because it's not a country anymore. There's no nationalism, there's no identity for that. So if there's no country, then therefore it's free land for another country to take, and then guess what? You either are part of them or you're out, or you're going to jail, or whatever their thing happens to be. And symbolism is very strong. It can work both for good and bad. It is, again, but a tool. That particular German used it for bad. But the symbolism of hope is also a symbolism, and it is for good. So, again, when you go to extremes of things, it does end up going, well, I will say that. It does end up going bad. Now, I don't know if there's an extreme, being overly healthy is detrimental. It can be detrimental, I'm sure. Like, because you're constantly counting your calories, you're exercising every day, and you practically lose your social life because you're so deep into this health, being a health nut, that you have no room for anything else. It's just what I need to eat, what I need to exercise, what I need to do here and there, and you have no room for anything else in your life. That's, again, too extreme. So I'm curious to what it has to say.
Acts of symbolism that resulted in Nazi Germany.
I got you. All right. That whole thing. All right. See, this is why the problem is you have read European history, you have no idea of Indian history.
Wow, the church are quite divided there, like they're both equally alive.
Let's come to this. Now,
sorry. So there is, much like, oh God, Lord, this is going to be terribly long. Much like anything else in life in general, things you do apply, in my idea, apply to this as well. Again, any extremes is bad. Being healthy to the extreme, you sacrifice a lot of things, but you're very healthy. There is a certain level of things that we need. I'm repeating myself in that. I just can't stress that enough.
See, Nazi Germany was organized against somebody within that country. Right now, you standing up for the national anthem is not organized against anybody. It is not organized against anybody. This must be understood. First of all, let us be very clear. Without investing our thought and emotion, there is no nation. Right now in this country, a whole lot of people, if you go into rural India, a whole lot of people don't know what is India. They know only their caste, they know only their community, their full allegiance is right there. You have to build this nation in people's minds and hearts. You don't build a nation just around. If you build a road and a bridge and something, nation will not happen. You have to build a nation in people's minds and hearts. This is a simple thing. Why should I stand up in a cinema theatre? That's a question. No, not necessarily in the cinema theatre, but how many of you by yourself will go and attend a Republic Day parade or go for flag hoisting on an Independence Day and stand up and sing the national anthem?
That here's a question. I've seen the American national anthem. I've seen that reaction going around, and I watched like, I don't know, 20 of those things, or well, there's quite a lot of them, 20 to 30 of them. I watch reactions of those. I've never understood the words of the American national anthem. It makes me also want to go back and listen to my birth country's national anthem as well. But the American national anthem, it is I don't know how to put this. I'll say the best national anthem, but I definitely gotta react to that, even though I've seen it like 20 or 30 times. But I want to ask anyone out there, do you know the meaning of your national anthem? The American national anthem was, if that was true, that I've heard, that is amazing. That is genuinely amazing. I think British people have like a national anthem that raises to their queen. I don't know what the true meaning of that is, but it doesn't sound like the American national anthem. It is. I don't know what to put. Compelling, I guess. I don't know. It's something. But do you know the meaning for your national anthems? Let me know in the comments below. I definitely gotta react to the American national anthem, and also off camera watch the meaning of my birth country's national anthem to see if there's good meaning behind it, or is it just praising the country, which is like, okay, you know, I got it. Because the American national anthem is just something else, I guess, if it's true. You don't.
So because the only damn place that you go to is a cinema theater, we're asking you to do it there.
I keep pausing it too much. Okay, so freedom of speech is something in America. I don't know how much of freedom of speech anywhere else has, but let me ask you this. Do you support freedom of speech? Now, I don't mean absolute freedom of speech. You can't go into a public area and say there's something going on really bad that makes everyone run out. There are certain things, there are certain limitations, but those limitations are very strict and it makes sense. Like, you cannot scream something in a crowded area that causes people to run out, basically. You cannot say that you're going to cause massive harm to someone. Outside of that, you practically have free range. You can talk bad about the country, you can talk bad about the government, you can talk bad about people. Freedom of speech. So with that, and I do wonder, do you, first and foremost, if you answer yes to this, if you support freedom of speech, then do you support people kneeling or sitting or turning their backs on the flag when the national anthem plays? Because if you support freedom of speech, then you support what they're doing. That's the crazy thing. That is my thought. That is the thought that's conflicted in my mind, because both are true. I support freedom of speech. I do believe, because if people can't voice their opinion, they're going to take it out in action. Voicing their opinion is a way to vent out their frustration. And some people, that's good enough where they don't take physical action. Some people, even voicing their opinion is not enough and they end up going violent. So that's why I support freedom of speech, and that's why I believe the United States has that as the First Amendment. I'm thinking the commandments too. I was getting those confused. But anyway, it's the First Amendment. And the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. So whenever your freedom of speech gets imposed, then you take it to number 2, which is you rebel against your government. But hopefully that never ever happens. So that's why number 1 is freedom of speech. That way you can speak your mind and not have to go to number 2. So again, if you support freedom of speech, that means you support people disrespecting your country. It seems counterintuitive or counterproductive. It seems counter of whatever it is, but it's true. And that's the conflict in my mind. So if you don't support freedom of speech, then you can say that you cannot turn your back on the flag. You have to respect the flag, basically, because you turning your back on the flag is a freedom of speech, saying that you don't respect the flag, you don't respect the country, or whatever it is, which a lot of people in America say that they want freedom of speech and respect freedom of speech, but in some sense don't. it's that thing. So let me know. Do you know about your national anthem, what it means? And also, do you support freedom of speech? And if you do, then you must also support people turning their backs on the flag or their country, or kneeling, or whatever it is, disrespecting the country and flag. Because and this is the kind of the conflict I had during that time with Kaepernick, where there's military soldiers on Facebook that are saying, yeah, we support Kaepernick. We're service members here, and this is what we fight for: freedom of speech. For you to kneel on the flag, if that is your speech, that is your, let's say, God-given right for some of them, but anyways, but that is the freedom that we're fighting for, so that you can have that. Anyways, let's continue on.
Fine. So we'll proceed from that discussion as to my ideas of nation, and whether I should be standing up, and whether how that subscribes to.
Okay, how else will you express your love for the nation?
So if I could just make another point there. Is that, 2 points here. First, take the example of, say, the victims of the 1984 riots, or take the example of the Bhopal gas victims, right? These people have been failed by the nation. These people have been discriminated upon. So, after 1984, how many governments did we have? We had multiple governments.
No.
So tell me one government after 1984.
See, 1 second. Hello. It's not just in 1984 or post-94 we have failed. We have continuously failed a whole lot of people for 70 years. When…
Is it because the nation wasn't united under one idea, and there's this constant internal conflict that keeps coming up because, again, the nation is not united. And that's, I think, again, another big problem is the sheer fact that if the people are not united under one nation, it's gonna fight itself. Look at the American Revolution. Look at many revolutions, honestly. All revolutions, practically. But, revolution? Civil War, sorry. Not revolution. Oh my gosh, I've been saying it wrong this entire time. Well, actually, revolution, too, because they opposed their occupying countries' ideas, and they had their own diversity. Again, another country opposing their ideas, another country, but also civil war. Sorry, I meant civil war. Why am I saying revolution? Both, it can still kind of apply to a revolution because the country becomes independent and now governs themselves as opposed to someone else's ideas. Anyways, revolution, evolution, civilization. Nope, civil war. So civil war, that's another thing. America had that. It's, I guess, I don't know if everyone knows about it or not, but they, again, two different ideas. They fought it out, and then we united under. I watched YouTube videos explaining the American Civil War. I need to slow down a bit, and it was very interesting because, again, when you're younger, you don't generally appreciate these things. You don't appreciate the history because it's just school. Kind of like Sadhguru was talking about when he went to school. He was just distracted by everything. He didn't know what he was talking about, and probably didn't necessarily appreciate, the history or whatever it is. And I get it. We're kids. Our attentions are on other things. But now that I watched it again on different people explaining the Civil War, and it's so sad. I want to react to the Civil War. I've watched many reacts to the American Civil War too. It's so crazy. It is really crazy. I wish more people would learn more about their history of their country as well. And some people have this very shallow knowledge of the history. Because right now, well, I don't want to say right now, but in parts of this country, there are people blaming white people for oppression on the black people. But when you look at the Civil War, white people and black people are fighting together. They're free to black people, but yet they're in modern times they're blaming all white people for them being free. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are always going to be racists everywhere, and we need to unite against these people instead of blaming an entire race of people for something they've never done. I don't know if that's going on in India either, like blaming maybe other castes or whatever, and I don't know if that's still going on now or not, even though they're blaming another caste, even though that caste hasn't done nothing to them or those people or whatever it may be. It's it's like we're living in the past, where we're thinking about the past and applying the past oppressions to the present. Sadhguru talking about how our past, our memories are always what we're suffering, and some of these people don't understand that, and they have so much freedoms now, and they're trying to blame a lot of people for things they didn't do. They have to be specific with their targets, because if you start blaming everyone else, you are not going to get anywhere with your movement, because you're practically making everyone your enemy. And eventually even your allies will say, you're going a little too far. Again, extremes.
When 50% of the country's population is still not nourished properly, we have obviously failed them. This is why I'm saying this is a question of humanity. This is not a question of nationality. The only way, the largest… Here.
No, nothing.
Yeah. The largest number of people, the maximum number of humanity that you can address right now in the current reality of the world is called a nation. If you want to address people in smaller communities, you must break it into smaller groups. Or when the populations or the nations become mature enough, like it's happened in Europe, they've made an union. The same people fought each other in the World War II, but within 60 years' time, they formed an union. There is a certain maturity there. So here, they don't have to promote too much nationalism, because there is a maturity of accepting everybody and opening up the borders and living as one larger union. So if such a thing happens to us, that someday we become an Asian Union, which we should aim towards on someday, then you can lower your nationalism. Right now you don't have a thing, you have not eaten properly, you're talking about other kinds of ideas and comparing yourself with Nazi Germany, which was in a completely different state. I'm saying you have ideals without reality check about your understanding of where we are, where this country is right now.
What he said there about the unions, the European unions, the well, Asian Union, America was actually kind of like that, I do believe. The states were their own countries in a sense, and I forget because again, you can look at any large country. I can only really talk about America, so I'd learn a bit more about American history. But America is such a large country. I also watch people react to like American stuff, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm watching this. It's just interesting. But apparently, America is like the top 4 or 5 largest landmass in terms of country size. I think Russia is number 1, just because it's so wide. I don't remember which one's number 1, but I think America's like top 5 in that. And but anyway, because it's so large, and the technology back in the day, well, there wasn't really any. Technology was a donkey or a horse traveling with a letter to send to someone. So that's the reason why in the United States the people are more loyal to their states, because it's much easier to talk to your neighbor than it is to talk to someone like, say, I don't know, in the next state over. I don't know how to translate this, but basically it's easier to talk to someone that's 5 feet from you than someone that's like 500 kilometers, I guess, or 500 miles or 500 kilometers away from you. It's just not possible. But now with transportation, with technology, it's so much easier. But in the past, people are more loyal to what the people that surround them, and then it gets less loyal to people that's around their neighbor of their city, then less loyal to the state, and even less loyal to the country, because the country was not really well formed. So this is something that it seems like he's kind of explaining about the unions, European Union. America was going to be like that too, as well, where each state was its own country, but I forget where it pushed to be just one United States. So the European Union is trying to do like the United States, and it's working out okay, much better for sure. And I don't know about Asian countries. I don't know who's going to take the leadership in that one, but I don't know. This is one thing I will say for sure that I talked to my friend about, is that we're working towards eventually everyone's going to be mixed. Everyone's going to have everyone's DNA and blood. Everyone's going to be just Earthians, because there's no going to be no Americans. You may have some nationalities of where you were born, but eventually you're not going to be like I don't know, German or French, because you're going to be German, French, Italian, British, Norwegian, Sweden, Australian, North Carolinian, United Statesians, Central Americanisms, or whatever. You're going to have every freaking DNA, blood, whatever in you. You're going to be so confused at who you are. We're eventually going to be working towards that. We're no longer going to be called, you know, whatever country we're from. We're just going to be called Earth, because we're going to have Mars or whatever else we're going to colonize.
Okay, so
we're working towards that.
I think this is something I completely get your points, but I think this is something we'll disagree on. And I think if somebody has an issue, we'll.
No, you should not disagree. You should ask more questions.
Fine. So I thought we had limited time.
See,
but
it is like this.
Yeah.
It is like this. Right now, you are in that state of mind that I am fixed on this. Unless you say what I want, I will not agree with you. This is not a debate. You asked a question. I have said what I have said. You ask more questions.
So
this is like the things that I'm. Oh my god. Whoever recommended this, my god. Well, here's a week worth of content, I guess. Anyways, a lot of the stuff that's talking about here is also happening in America. I'm sure it's happening in a lot of other places too. I think Britain is also happening with the Brexit stuff, about how they're going to pull apart from the European Union. I can't remember what's the last of that. It's crazy. I think they broke out. I don't know. I have other problems to worry about. But it's just so similar. It's so I don't know if it's cool or a bad thing. Honestly, it's interesting and cool to see that other countries are struggling. It's terrible, but it's terrible because other countries are struggling. Similar struggle. Let me put it that way. It's cool that we have similar struggles, and terrible that we're struggling with the same issues. I don't know what he's trying to point out, but we have to understand. Maybe he has to understand that we have to unite in something to unite the nation. That is the problem. I do believe Sadhguru is trying to talk about, because if we cannot unite under one banner, one commonality, we will not be united and we'll continue to fight with each other, and eventually the nation will break. Same thing like in America. Luckily enough, we are so isolated that we can only bicker amongst ourselves for the most part. Some people will have to travel either the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean just to get to us. And then about every American, well, not every American, but most Americans have guns. So not only do you have to fight the national army, but you have to also fight the civilians. There are more people have more guns than there are people in America. That's crazy. So yeah, anyways. But yes, there has to be a uniting factor, and I think that's what Sadhguru is trying to point out, is the fact that one simple thing that we should unite under is the national anthem, a national pride to be saying, I'm a proud Indian, and that I will take pride in anything that is within India, and actions in India, and actions within myself. This goes back to the point of my research with Japan. They also have nationalism as well there. I mean, don't get me wrong, they took it to the extreme like Germans did. But that has subsided obviously after World War II. But they still hold this nationalism of national pride, but it's not to the extreme. And the crazy thing, whenever me and a friend wanted to go over there, we did did a bit of research on what to do and whatnot, just to find out the culture and stuff. And the thing is that they're so proud of their work. They're so proud to be Japanese that they take pride in what they do, and you can look at it in their products. And this is like when you look at cars, I've been just watching and researching cars. Toyotas, because it's made like a whole bunch of mechanics and a lot of people that are working on these things, they say, you know, Toyotas are so wonderful. They're amazing. Because Japanese people take pride in their work, because it's coming from Japan. They must take pride and must show that Japanese products work is amazing, it's top quality. Look at a freaking American vehicle. It's made in Mexico or somewhere else now. There's no national pride in it. It's trash for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily the Mexican people or anything. It's just it's the quality that that these American companies put on to these factories. Most of them just, they buy cheap labor. So if you get paid for cheap labor, you're gonna get cheap stuff, cheap workers out of it, you know. So, and also it's a matter of the national pride as well. If I don't know the national pride in Mexico right now, I'm not sure. It's the national pride. I mean, Japanese people, I hear like their artists are struggling. They make such good animation, good work, good detail, but they're living in like one-bedroom apartments with little pay, eating noodles because they can't afford it. They're underpaid. Another video showed that how cheap it is in Japan, and that the company has to apologize every time they increase the cost of something by a penny or 5 cents or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's that part is a bit extreme, where they're sacrificing their health and their well-being to be so good at something. There has to be a balance, and I don't know if that's still going on now or not. But again, taking things to the extreme is really bad. And I really went off topic there. But again, there's nothing wrong with national pride. If you take it to extreme, there has to be some kind of unifying factor so people can get behind and unite together underneath that banner. Because if they don't unite under that banner, then you're gonna have two separate groups, one who does and one who doesn't. Then you'll be bickering amongst each other about certain things. If you can at least unite in that one and continue to unite among other ideas. Wow.
So, my primary concern was that there was limited time, but if you're okay.
No, don't worry about that. I'm willing to spend the day with you. Because Because you've raised an issue where certain people, just for the sake of popularism, they're talking some nonsense without keeping the nation's interest in their thinking. Now, it's okay, don't shout. If you want to say something, take the microphone and speak. Anonymously, anybody can say anything. If you want to say something, stand up and speak, it's perfectly fine with me. All right? Just doing boo-boo, woo-woo is not going to help. Because this is a nation, as I said, I'm reminding you, you don't seem to have the pain in your heart, because I have traveled through villages and rural landscape of this nation so much. I have seen people in such horrible conditions continuously, even today. Just here, in this state, just travel around, see, it's one of the well-to-do states in the country. Go to the remote parts of this state and see how people are. Most of them have not eaten properly in their entire life, okay? When this is the condition, we have debating about nuances, 52 seconds, if I stand, my legs will melt down. No, I'm saying this, can you create a nation without investing your emotion into the nation-making? Can you?
So, could investing emotion also be by expressing healthy skepticism? Is healthy skepticism also not a factor that is taken into account while building the nation?
You can stand up and be a skeptic. Be a stand-up skeptic. Why are you sit-down skeptic? Even comedians are standing up these days.
But it's how I express myself to be
Okay, how will you express, sir?
I mean…
See, how will you… Okay, do one thing, let us not sing the national anthem, let's not stand for it. Find some way where all Indians can express 1 minute of respect for this nation. Please.
The one uniting factor all people in that country can unite under. All Sadhguru is asking is for everyone to stand for the national anthem so that everyone can have that one thing to unite under. And that's the thing. I get his point of view. Again, like I talk about the free speech. If you believe in free speech, then you must be able to respect someone's ability to turn their backs on the flag, to sit down, to do whatever. Stand up, salute the flag, or turn around and not salute the flag and ignore it. Both same meaning under free speech. But the idea that, I guess Sadhguru, I wish he would say this, like, get one idea that, basically what he's getting at right here is the fact to get one idea that all people in India can unite under. It's not a, I believe it's not a physical thing that you can, that can be, how do I say this? You cannot say, oh, all Indian people can unite under throwing the trash away. I mean… it has to be something of an idea, something that is not physical to do. Standing up is physical, but it's the standing up portion is also the idea behind the idea of the flag, of the national anthem, I believe. Again, it's about finding one idea that they can unite under, and then finding other ideas to attach to that one single solitary idea until you develop this large conglomeration of ideas that everyone can stand under, I believe.
Please find some way and tell me.
So, sir, I completely agree with you, and that's where I come from. Like, I could be contributing to the nation not in terms of 1 minute, but in terms of hours. I could be protecting tribal rights. I could be going to courts and fighting for Dalits. I could be doing investigative journalism.
Yes, sir.
So,
no, you did not listen to me. Please listen to me. What I am saying is, find one simple process that all of us can use to express our love for this country. Find that. But then we will stop the national anthem and do that one.
But so, why is it that we need a common idea of expressing love? I mean, if I have 3 children, all 3 of them will express love to me, will express their love to me in different manners.
Because I wonder if I can ask him this, if I were to ask him this. So let's say one of your children expressed their love by slapping you in the face or kicking you in the nuts. And the 2 other children showed their expression of love by hugging you every time you come home. The other one kicks you in the nuts and run away and never sees you ever again. That's his expression of love. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm going a bit extreme in that example, but he was saying different forms of expression. That's absolutely true. he can still express that expression, but I'm sure he'd want a hug from that third child. One uniting expression to show love. Well, yes, there are many different ways to show love, but there is, I guess, it's the one uniting thing. The one thing that all of them have in common is show their love for him. So I get his point of view, but it's a bit different and difficult for a nation, for people to show their love for a nation, I suppose. Also, he does make a good point there, too.
You need to understand this, your love for your country is not your personal romance. How you express your love, how you express your love to your friend or your partner is your business, we will not ask you. But when it comes to the nation, we are trying to put complex culture into one identity of some sort. Why don't you take a microphone and speak? Don't sit down and speak, stand up, huh? You got legs, right?
So, could somebody give the mic to Rohan Pratap Singh?
Oh man, so I guess why I see why someone wanted this one. I mean, dude, I feel the same way. Like, this is stuff that's going on right here, right now. It's so weird. Don't get offended here. I'm about to spill this thought that I had out. It's so weird. America's so advanced in terms of technology and riches and whatever else there is. Even though it's this advanced nation, it has the exact same problems as India. You think technology or comfort or all these whatever fancy stuff would make the nation better? Nope. Same as a nation that's, I wouldn't say maybe undeveloped or developing. It's developing for sure, but just I don't know what stage it's at. Like if you go to America, it looks like it's if you go to some parts of America, it looks like it's not even developed at all. But yeah, no, I don't think any country has this completely developed at all in terms of every single person. Like Sadhguru was talking about how even I went to a certain city, people sleeping on the streets. California, oh my gosh, the worst of it. The weirdest thing, California, I've heard this somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not, that if you separate California from the United States, it becomes the 5th richest country in the world. But yet it has, I believe, the most homeless people. It has a lot of problems. So strange. California, so rich, it's so many problems. Technology's not going to do it. Clearly, we can see that. I mean, I don't know what would fix it. Sadhguru was just talking about a simple, just standing up for 52 seconds, I believe it was. I don't know. Even if you separate California from the rest of the United States, California is just, it looks terrible relative to the rest of the United States. It's really that bad. Well, I don't know. It makes it seem like it's really that bad over there. I mean, so bad that there's a pooping issue, there's peeing issue. I remember going over there one time, and yes, you walking down the street, you can smell pee everywhere. I don't know. Just no matter how developed a nation is, apparently, or underdeveloped or developing, it just seems like we all have the same problems. But I have a feeling, honestly, like what Sadhguru was talking about, like I said, I don't think it's a Western thing. I think it's more of a developed nation's issue. Because when you go to, like you were talking about, when you go to these villages and stuff, even if I relate to even my I can see my birth country, because there's like, in a sense, my birth country, I suppose, too. Anyways, they're not having these issues. The discussion is not about standing up for a flag or anything. Most people have, and most people in my birth country have national pride. Now, I don't know where it's at now. I haven't been there in a little bit, but Sadhguru was saying that in some of these villages don't know anything about India. That's actually kind of odd. But I mean, again, India is a huge country, and it's hard to put out technology in every single area. That's why I said about having a good country that's diverse and large. It's very difficult. I don't think we have the technology for that now. Not even in the United States. There's many parts in the United States where people are not eating healthy, even though there's abundance of food. So it's not a hunger issue. It's an overeating issue. Some parts overeating, some parts are undereating. Not enough food. There's not internet everywhere. They're still very much like living in, I don't know. I don't know if they even have areas where there's probably no electricity in the United States. There's places like the big metropolitan areas where there's a lot of homeless, pee everywhere. And look at California being one of the richest state, probably, I think so, and yet it still has these issues. So again, that's two different issues, but it's just a sure fact that I think this nuance issues or this first world problems issues are just a developed nation issue. I genuinely do believe that it's not just a Western problem. That's the reason why I'm I don't know, happy or surprised or unhappy or whatever that we're having similar issues. The sheer fact that people are not standing up for the flag or being proud of their nation, but they think their nation is trash, that they think the nation's enslaving their people or whatever. Oh, man.
Well, you know their questions, please tell me.
Fine, so…
We bicker about the little things, and when in reality there are bigger issues out there that we need to focus on. That's the problem. There are bigger problems out there than your mocha latte that has 5 ice cubes instead of 6. And that's what they're complaining about. Basically, stupid, insignificant issues for the most part. Well, not really in America. There are pretty big issues, but but I mean, but there are people who out there who don't stand, but they don't stand for flag for a reason, and they do make a good point. But I guess the whole problem is the fact that if we cannot unite under the flag, then we cannot unite as a country, and therefore we should be broken apart. There's a lot of people, not a lot of people. There's some people talking about that, and that's probably been talked about for a long time. But yes, we need to unite and unite to be better, and not bicker over stupid things.
So before the mic comes to him, because I think it will take some time.
No, I would like you to stand up.
Yeah. So our question was simple. If we
Can I sing the national anthem now that you are standing?
Sorry?
Can I sing the national anthem that you are standing right now?
I think I can express my nationalism the way I choose to express it, because we are a country which is extremely diverse.
I do not question that.
Yeah.
I am not even questioning that. But I am saying this is a country of 1.3 billion people. Each one of us, our own language, our own culture, our own castes and creeds and eating, dressing, everything is different. When it's like this, we need some common point which we all plug into and say, this is our thing. So this is the flag. I know flag is just a bloody cloth, we know that. But it's we, by investing our emotion, who make it sacred, isn't it?
So to add on to Rohan's question, I mean, if the requirement…
He doesn't even ask the question.
The question is, do we not have
faith in… If you can hold the microphone.
Yeah, sure. The question is, do we not have faith in our diversity? We are a country whose population is more than the population of Africa combined or the Americas combined. A country which has a population more in diversity than Europe and Australia combined.
I know these statistics.
If we have such a diverse population where people can choose to express themselves in different methods to show their nationalism, to show their patriotism, where they're working on a daily basis for the betterment of the country, who is this particular we that we are referring to, who can all of a sudden decide the standard of what amounts to nationalistic expression and other expressions which are not? That's the entire question.
He missed the point. It's not that other nationalistic expressions are invalid. No. It's the fact that everyone has this one way of expressing their nationalism that everyone can participate in. Because not everyone can participate in what's going on in the next village or the next country or the next state. They don't have that ability, they don't have that luxury. Again, goes back to what I think of, like the middle upper class, or these people who've lived their lives so good that they don't see these other problems. It's a bit different, I think, over here, but it's like a reverse, but about the same. So basically, they see these other problems, but they don't realize that we need to all stand for at least one idea that we can all get behind as a national pride thing. It's not to say that other ways of expressing your nationality or national pride is invalid. It's that there must be one way that everyone can participate. Otherwise, you don't see themselves as part of this country, part of the country. Let me put it that way. If there's not one thing that we can all unite under, then we are something separate from this country. Because you may be representing whatever your idea of a nationalism is, and another person expressing their idea of a nationalism. There's nothing in common between those two, even though they're expressing their nationalistic pride. They're two separate parties, two separate nationalisms, you could say. But if they can unite under the banner, they at least have that. Under the banner, the national anthem or whatever it is. I think that's what Sadhguru is trying to get to. And that's what they're missing, I believe.
I know this is a certain kind of motivation which is there, it's fine. But this suddenly is a completely wrong word. In 1947, when the flag went up, the entire nation stood up. Entire nation stood up. Because at that time, we knew what it meant to be oppressed by somebody else. Now we've forgotten. That's all that's happened to us.
So
now, you do not understand, this country has 1,000 years of history of invasions and invasions, and in every possible way we've been rubbished. Do you understand? And we have forgotten this, that just 60, 70 years ago, we had famines where people did not die in hundreds of thousands, they died in millions. We've forgotten that. We think… we are talking a language of America. You must understand, United States of America, in every sports event, major Super Bowl is happening. If the national anthem goes, everybody stands up, not just stand up, with their hand on their heart. So that nation…
Wow, I mean, that didn't age too well. I mean, I have a feeling the kneeling thing is dying down. But again, like I said, there has to be one uniting factor that every single person… I need to stop saying that same thing over and over again, but you get my point.
Is doing what it is doing, it is also a complete conundrum of cultures from variety. People have all come from outside in this generation. They're not even born there, but they all stand up with such pride. Because of that pride, that nation is the most powerful nation in the world. If you don't have pride, what do?
Again, Japanese pride in their work. That's the reason why whenever you look at Japanese car in America, it is… a lot of people, when they speak of a Japanese car, they talk about Honda, Toyota, those are being top two. Always highest resale factor. Why? Because they take such pride in their work. Whenever… it's kind of like putting a piece of fuel into something that you do. If it fails, it feels like you failed. That's the way I do believe Japanese people feel. They have this national pride that's really strong. It's detriment a little bit to their health, maybe even a lot actually to some degree. But they have this pride in what they do that if it fails, they feel like they are directly responsible for that. There's that national pride, a pride in what they do, a pride in their nation. Again, being pride in what you do in your nation can be two separate things, but generally speaking, because I do believe it being a national pride.
So I apologize to the people in the audience. We will have 40 minutes. I'm sorry, Javi, we'll have 40 minutes in the audience discussion because, I mean, the co-moderators also have important questions to ask. I can't take up their time.
Take control, man. You're in charge here.
I can't hear you. We can come back to national anthem in the audience questions if that's fine to you.
Yes, dude, take charge. You're in charge here.
Constitution under Article 19(1)A gives me the freedom of expression, and there are explicit Supreme Court decisions which say that I have the right to silence, to peaceful silence. So if I'm just sitting up and I have the right to be silent, that is constitutionally protected. So Constitution does not say this. The only law we have is the…
Please sit down. Hello.
Wow, it's so heated. It's kind of… Jesus, man.
The only law we have is… I mean, there's a separate law for that.
Whoever, please, whatever kind of question you want to ask, take the microphone and ask the question. Don't just stand up and do whatever, okay, please?
So, sir, if it's fine to you and if it's fine to everybody, can we please do it as a moderated discussion? I mean, if you're fine with that, because we have a lot of important questions, nuanced questions to ask.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, I'll take the autocratic decision to move on. And if you guys can please ask that in the audience questions. There's 40 minutes reserved for that.
That's a very good thing, that's a very good thing. They're listening to your autocratic decision. They're not saying we'll express in our own way.
Sadhguru, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I mean, it's a little bit different, Sadhguru. It's a little bit different. When you go into private establishment, they tend to have there's certain rules that you agree upon when you go into this private establishment. Generally speaking, in terms of laws, amendments, and whatnot, it's generally against the government. The government themselves cannot do upon to you. But private establishments differently, where a private establishment can say that you must wear a red shirt to be entered into here, and then if you don't wear a red shirt, then they have the right to shoo you away. So while a government cannot impose that law on you, so there's a difference between government and private companies in America. I'm not sure. Ooh, I like that. Not sure in India, but you know. The government cannot stop you from doing certain things. You have certain rights against the not against the government, that protects you from the government, not necessarily the private parties, private businesses.
So
For example, whoever's hosting that can say we're shutting this down and ending it. While if it's run by a government, if there's a reserved time, then the government cannot, unless national security or whatever, I'm sure they cannot shut it down. They must allow you to do your speech on there in the reserved time that you have reserved, because I'm sure it's maybe a busy event or maybe there's another schedule that they must provide the right for another person to use. So there is difference between government and private sectors, and most of the laws and whatnot is to protect you from the government.
So because we already have two opinions being discussed,
No, that is fine. All I'm saying is, if everybody does things in their own way, there's going to be chaos. That's all it is.
So we'll discuss this in the audience questions. So the next question, sir, Sadhguru, which I have, concerns the interlinkages between art and war. This is again, this comes back between art and war, between art and nationalism. So just to set the context, in Bombay there were certain political entities which threatened that a particular film would not be released because it involved a Pakistani actor who, by the way, was working in India legally on a government sanctioned permit. It was argued that releasing such a film would be disrespectful to Indians and to the Indian army. And there have also been similar instances of other Pakistani actors and musicians also being prevented from working in India. Now, my question to you, Sadhguru, is that what's your stand on this? Do you see this as extra-constitutional bullying or extra-constitutional censorship because there is no law which says I cannot hire a Pakistani actor? Or do you see this as a justified patriotic concern?
Well, that's okay. I'm not sure if I heard him correctly, but so if they had a legit ticket to work there, they can work there. But that doesn't, like, for example, the film, that doesn't mean people have to watch that film. The government's not going to say, okay, everyone go watch the film. No. People can, I think it's going on, they call it cancel culture over here. It's well defined, I suppose. Or just boycotting, basically. It's roughly the same thing. So basically they can boycott the film. I mean, everyone has a right to watch what they want to watch, not want to watch. So if he had a legal right to work there and he worked there, that's fine. They didn't try to stop him or whatever. But people don't have to go watch his films or whatever it may be. People are not forced to do things they don't want to do. That also goes with the standing up of the national anthem too. So that's a conflict. Again, that's the stuff I think about. Stuff that blows my mind sometimes. Not blows my mind, irritates my head, I guess. It's like, yeah, you know, I believe freedom of speech, but they should stand by freedom of speech. Like what he's talking. So let's see what it says.
See, anything that is not within the framework of law, nobody has any business to force it.
Yes.
The law enforcement should be able to handle it, but unfortunately that's not the reality in the country right now. Whether it is about a Pakistani artist or an Indian artist, it is not only about Pakistani. You saw this Padmavat, one big issue happening, somebody won't let you release. In Tamil Nadu it's happened many times because somebody doesn't like it. I'm saying if you don't like a bloody movie, don't watch it. That's about it.
Yep.
So, about India-Pakistan, there is unfortunately, there is a lot of continuous conflict happening. If it is not necessary for us, we must make a law like that. Till these things are settled, as they are saying right now, till it's settled, we won't talk. Similarly, till it's settled, we won't act, we won't sing, we won't do. But outside the framework of law, nobody has any business to enforce anything. Unfortunately, the way to become a leader in this country has been till now, you don't have to create anything, you don't have to build anything. You gather 100 people and block the highway for 3 days, make everybody's life miserable, you may get elected. So those of you who are shouting, you must understand this is not the way, because this is the person that he's talking about right now. People who will break the framework and do their own thing, just to have their way because they believe something. You can believe whatever you want.
Oh no! And this is the thing I would ask Sadhguru too, and I wonder what he would say. Again, I'm talking about the free speech thing. Do you believe in free speech? I'm not talking about absolute free speech, because obviously the saying is so you can't go into like a restaurant or like a crowded area and just scream there's a bomb. You're gonna force everyone to run out, cause harm or injury. It's illegal to do that. No matter how much I want to support free speech, there's very extremely limited things that are very restricted. Only because it makes sense. You don't go, screaming out stuff that could potentially cause harm to a lot of people. But it causes panic, basically. You can scream out whatever. You can say, I like jelly beans or something like that. People will look at you weird, but you can do that. Again, private establishment can kick you out of that and can tell you not to scream that out. Private establishment can make whatever rules they want because it's not the government. The government's the only thing that cannot restrict your freedoms, not private establishment. That's the thing that needs to be straightened here. It's the fact that you can create your own business and you can say, anyone who speaks English or anyone who has black hair or brown hair or a mustache cannot enter. Government cannot say what you can and cannot do. The government will be enforcing their views on you. It's your private business. You can run it however you like, and the people will shop based on how you run your business. If you run it really well, but you have saying people with mustaches can't get in there, then people are going to be like, "Oh, that's weird. Why they don't invite people with mustaches?" Or maybe like there's a lot of establishments who don't let pets into their establishment, not because they're anti-pet, it's just because people don't take care of their pets. When they poop in place and they just leave it there. So they say no pets in places. And it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. The time. So basically, private establishment can make their own rules, and people decide whether that private establishment succeeds or fails based on their own private establishment ideology. So, to me, in my opinion, if you say anything that restricts a person from getting into a place, that sounds like me. Regardless whether it matches me or not, that is me also. So if you say black people can't get in, Asian people can't get in, white people can't get in, Hispanic people can't get in, people with black hair can't get in, people with mustaches can't get in, people with all their teeth can't get in, that's me. That's just to say that if you restrict anyone, doesn't matter if it's based on race or sex or whatever, then I'm not going to shop there, because why would you do that? Unless, like, it makes sense. It's like, okay, you can't bring your dog in here because there are trash people out there who would bring a dog into the place and let them poop in the place and pee in the place, and they just go out and let the people who work there clean that up. So, of course, there are certain restrictions that make sense, kind of like freedom of speech. There's certain restriction on the freedom of speech that makes sense. This is going to be a very long series. Anyways, I'm going to pause right here. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.